Hello everyone, this is Exordia by Seth Dickinson. This is apparently a first sci-fi book by this author, and I had around page 100 or so, I had let some people know that I also talk about books with. This could be my book of the year, and so I'll let you know in a minute if it is. What happens here is we have this lady named Anna, and she is a Kurdish refugee. As a young child, she was given a trolley problem. Her entire town, village of people were captured. A gun was put in her hand, and she said, and they told her, if you kill enough people, we'll let them all go. Kill 6 people. And they march them out. Some of them were family members, and as a young child, boom, 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 she shot them dead. So apparently they were let go. She was a refugee. As an adult, she is living in New York. And she meets an alien, and that alien's name is Seren, although it is a much longer name. And you see she is a member of this galactic civilization called the Exordia. You see all these scales and snake-like things on here. It's because the Exordia are snake-like beings. She is described as a rather large snake body, got some manipulator hands, and there's no human-type head. It's a bunch of snake heads. And they become friends. And Seren explains the nature of the universe to Anna. Anna's a bit of an attitude problem. I'm going to read a little part if I can find it real quick. I can find it real quick. Oh no. I didn't bookmark it to try to tell you. Oh, here she goes. This is Anna dealing with her boyfriend. You know what? Our sex sucks. You literally cannot get off without watching porn over your shoulder. Your dick's like one of those Russian drool dogs. That's what she's like. She's a mess. But she's, traumatized, basically. Seren and her entire species run the galaxy, and they are a bunch of bastards, really. And so Seren rebels against them. And she has some allies, but a little spoiler here, but it doesn't matter. They're not there yet. And another one of her species shows up because there's going to be some technology they have to squabble over. But Seren explains the universe. There are creators to the universe. They were squabbling amongst each other. Boom, they created the universe. And underneath all that physics is this whole other set of physics that has to deal with it. Basically, like someone's decided, I'm going to describe the Force, like in Star Wars, and here's how I'm going to describe it in this sort of not hard science fiction, but a little closer than just leaving it to sound mystical. It's really more or less a means of, when you make use of it, it's more like getting yourself some very powerful hyper-type technology, and you can run the galaxy like they do. It also, however, you get connections between beings, and Seren and Anna have one of those connections, and they even call it a narrative. Everyone has souls, but this is not magic, so it's not magic souls. The story of your life creates your soul, and that becomes important in the climax of the book. So, after this, they are introduced. Then you move on to a part 2. And we introduce new characters. A fellow by the name of Clayton. There's a fellow by the name of Eric. And they are in a love triangle as they grow up with this woman named Rosemarie. But this is primarily concerning Eric and Clayton. And Eric is like Captain America. He wants to do the right thing. He's a bit self-righteous. Clayton, whereas Anna had her trolley problem forced upon her, Clayton likes to stick himself in the trolley problem. I'm going to be the one who pulls that lever. I'm the little thing in the dark that does all the evil stuff that keeps the world going and safe. He's that kind of guy. So he's a bit of a narcissist. If he seems to be aware that some of the crap he does is pretty messed up, but he makes excuses as to why he's right and ultimately a good person. He is not. He is a bastard of a human being. So Seren has Anna. Another alien gets Clayton and others. So does Seren. She gets, it's not just about Anna. So what follows after the intro of Anna and Seren is, it's like Seren and Anna were set up to be your main characters. I mean, this intro is outstanding. And then they just throw Anna and Seren to the side, and we get into this chase for this piece of alien technology, and it turns into a military thriller with a sci-fi bent, because they're after this piece of artifact. And so there's a lot of military jargon. It's not bad, but it does weigh down sometimes, takes a little time to get through some of the dialogue. There's a lot of good info dumping through dialogue, I'll give it that. But then what follows for quite a bit of this book, I mean quite a bit of this book, is this scientific mumbo-jumbo that makes the technobabble of Star Trek seem trite. This took me a while to read, in part because I kept going back going, I don't understand what I'm reading. But I've got a couple shelves worth of scientific material up here that I've read. A lot of stuff I can read on the web. I'm not a scientist or a mathematician. I'm an out-of-work delivery driver. But I am scientifically literate at least. And so I kept going back over this, but what the hell is this? And it started to wear me down. I almost did not finish this several times because of this weirdly abstract, mathematical, cosmological babble that goes through this book. And but the characters are so well done, and the concept of what's going on here is so well done, that I barged through it. I said, I'm going to finish this, and I did. The landings are really, really interesting. The ending is a really interesting ending. Really interesting. It does set up a sequel. I'm not going to read it. This just, it wore me out. And maybe I was just sleepy one day. I fell asleep reading this damn book. I woke up, the bookmark was in the floor. I'm sitting here in the chair. Oh, what happened? Because I think I was just trying to read a little too hard. It knocked me out. But I did get through it. And the beginning's great. The ending's great. The concept is great. The characters are great. Clayton, the narcissist guy, he's really complex and interesting to read about. But the mumbo jumbo in this just dragged me down. So no, this will not be my favorite book of the year. It just started out so good, but just no, not for me. Not something I would recommend. It's sort of like if I rated books on 1 to 5 stars, right? The beginning's a 5, the ending's like a good 4, the rest of it's like a 2. It went down to 2 because the characters are good and the ideas are good. It's something where you sit back and you go, did some editor read through this and just loved it? Don't change anything. Because I wonder sometimes if I could be an editor, would I be able to hold a job? Because I'd read a book like this and go, dude, you gotta cut some of this out. If maybe this much of the book were cut in half, this would be, instead of 500 some pages, maybe 300 some pages. This could have been outstanding, but no. So, Seasons of Albion is still my favorite for the year so far. Next up, I saw this in Barnes & Noble quite a few times and loved that cover. This is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. And I kind of passed on it, and then another booktuber who I just adore, Ellen Chanel, she actually wound up liking it. I said, I'm going to take that as a recommendation. I'm going to get it. So this is what I'm going to read next. I had on my TBR, which is 11. I thought it was 11, but there's some older books I have sitting over here that I'm kind of forgotten about, so it's still quite a bit. What else? So the next saga, I don't know if you ever heard of this comic book. This is number 67. Just got this yesterday. This is like the comic book. This is going to be, if you've heard of Watchmen, if you've heard of Dark Knight Returns, if you've heard of things like Frank Miller's run of Daredevil, the greatest comic book stories you've ever heard of, this is one of them. And if you are not reading this, you're not reading anything. This is true space fantasy right here, by the way. Many people like to call Star Wars space fantasy, and it is not. It is space opera, and I will fight you on that. This is actual space fantasy. Space is weird. There's magic, wooden spaceships, and just magnificent plot and character. This is one of the greatest things I've ever read, and I had to get some review going because they take breaks. So this is the first issue in about the past 8 months, and then I think we're going to get a few months of issues every month. And this is 67. I think they're going to 100 something, 109, 10, something like that. So maybe in the next 2-3 years we'll get to an ending of this greatness here. And I think that's all I wanted. That's it then. Channel stuff's okay. Over 300 subscribers. 18,000 views. Not too bad. Welcome if you're new. Hope you stay. Hope you enjoy. Thank you all very much. I hope you have a lovely day. Bye-bye now.